Here we go. Okay, we're live. Just making sure everything's working here. I think we're working. We're about to find out. Never get on here this late, so I'm not sure if any of you guys are going to be up working. I'm up working. It's what it takes sometimes. So, got my comments pulled up. And we are a go. Pull those over here. Okay. Let's see here. Here we are. This will be nice. Now we're going to do some work. What's up, whoever's out there? Trying something new tonight. Any questions you got? Oh, hey, Top Peak, what's up, man? Well, I'm just hanging out. I'm working. This is a work night for me, and I figured I'd hop on here and see what was going on. I'm just building stuff. Working on my home base website right now. Earlier, I was doing a scope of work course that I'm working out here. So that's what I was recording. But anyway, what's up with you? Sales meeting on a house deal? You get something under contract? Whoever else is out there. I think Top Peak just got him a little sales meeting. Wholesale deal? Direct to seller? Were you looking at a house on the market? Make any offers? Anything good out there? This is what I'm working on right now. So I got 1 million freaking videos to edit. Good times. This is just a practice one. Made a whole bunch of videos today. And I got to get them all edited up for you guys. No, just your regular window sales job. That's a good time though, man. At least you get some, oh, here you go. You got 2 questions for me. Hit me. Give us something to talk about out here. Anybody who's got questions, I'm answering them. I'm just out working right now. Trying to edit a bunch of videos. See how they went. I'm not sure if that might be talking. I'm ready for these questions. I think there's probably a lag in here, so If that's the case, sorry about it. Got my iPad though. I'm ready to roll. Questions? Oh, here we go. What's up, man? Ref whoa. Hey Ross, can you explain? Oh man, you've been hitting me on those. I'm gonna pop it up though. Can you explain the mechanicals and when you decide to upgrade them? I do rentals in Alabama where they are lower end values. It's hard to find deals if you were to replace all MEPs. Yeah, man, I've done a lot of videos. I wouldn't say a lot, at least a handful of like grandfathering rules. This is perfect. Top peak. I'll hit you in a second. Ref will beat you. So you're right. You know, you really, this fits perfectly into the type of, the scope of work course that I was making for you guys today. But, so there's grandfathering rules, right? So, if something is built correctly to code at the time that it was built, a lot of times those things would be grandfathered in unless you go and mess with them. Mess with them means you like open up a wall or whatever. This is talking about permits in particular. Okay, if you were to pull permits and you open up a wall that has old electrical in it, it's likely that the code inspector is going to make you bring everything inside of that wall up to code. A lot of times you end up having to mess with framing. You got to mess with the mechanical, electrical, plumbing inside of that wall. Okay, but if the wall's closed, you know, there's nothing they're really going to do about it, right? Unless there's something that is like clearly outstanding. Right? That is talking about if you pull permits. If you don't, this is the simple framework, you know, if it's not a house that requires permits. The simple framework is 4 B's is what I think about. I think about bodily harm. Okay, so this is like safety and liability. We'll get to that in a second. I think about bleeding. I think about baseline. And I think about the big 3. Okay, the 4 B's. Now, bodily harm means something's messed up. Legit, there's frayed wires inside of the wall or something like that. And it's your duty, it's our duty as flippers to get that stuff right, or, you know, burr investors, whatever, rental owners. The difference between getting unsafe things safe and not is the difference between being a slumlord and being a good investor. All right, and those things are most of the time pretty clear, because if it's not working, then it's probably not safe. Okay, but think about plumbing, for instance. Okay, there's old ass cast iron lines in every house, or every older house, and those things are working. Okay, if they weren't, there'd be shit in your crawl space, you know. And so seems like it's working. The poop's getting out to the sewer line, you know, the main sewer. The a big thing that I'm always thinking about it is if I buy a house that somebody's living in currently. If somebody's living in it currently, it's likely that the MEP is working just fine. And so, you know, the line is always blurry, man. Oh, I think you're, only asking because my GC said that we can keep the knob and tube as long as it's working. Hey, my man. And he says, other contractors are telling me to replace the knob and tube every time I see it. It's just all contradicting. Okay, so we can hone in on the knob and tube. Knob and tube is something that freaks people out. And knob and tube is okay in a lot of circumstances. In a lot, it's not okay because somebody goes and messes with it afterwards, and then it's not safe anymore. But if it is done correctly, if it was done correctly, and there's no frayed wires and such, most of the time, even if you got permits pulled in most municipalities, it would be okay. In most municipalities that I've worked in, let me be clear. Okay, but I've certainly seen knob and tube be just fine. Now, there are other things, like there are insurances that might not accept them. There are certain mortgages that they might go and look at that and say that that's not acceptable. Okay, but from a safety and liability standpoint, there are certainly circumstances where it's okay. And the one other thing I'll say about it is most contractors are they are plagued by a sickness that I call new builderitis. And that is that they have no real motivation to try to save something. Because think about this. If there's something old like that, it's going to take some creativity. It's going to take understanding really how things work to be able to make it work in a new system. So the easiest thing to do would be to tear it all out and start from new. This is why a lot of contractors want to be in new builds and such, because it's really simple. You start from nothing and you just, put the things in according to the plan. It doesn't take a lot of brain power. And the thing is, with most construction companies, they have a crew. And generally, like the leader of the crew or the leader of the company, they know what the hell they're doing. Okay, but it's really hard to find guys that know what the hell they're doing. So most construction companies, what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep the surgeons at the table, meaning, they keep their guys working on something, because when their guys are working on something, they can be billing for those things, those hours used. But the main game is the lowest level guys are really hard to keep working. And so to do something like figure out how to fit knob and tube into a system takes the most brain power. And they don't have a lot of that. That's their bandwidth as a company. So like a lot of times you'll get like newer, like a young guy starting a new company is really out to please. And he'll like do those things for a while till he grows his company. And he's like, oh God, it sucks working on Refwo, his knob and tube wires. This blows, it takes all my brain power, and I just want to get these dumb guys working. Okay, so that's why people are plagued with new builderitis, and that's why you're hearing a lot of contradicting things, and that's why I talk so much about how you have to gain the knowledge over time, because you're the only one that's going to make the right decision for your projects. And truly, like my goal in, because I have to pull a lot of permits for jobs that I'm working, my own jobs. And my goal is that if I passed the very first inspection, I probably did too much, man. I'm trying to hit that bare minimum line, whatever the minimum is to get me past that. That's what I want. And what contractor is going to do that? Because it's their reputation on the line. They don't want to look bad with the inspectors, because it's going to make it harder on their next job. But the next job is my job. So, I'm going to do what's good for me. Okay. Dude, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Refwo, giving me a shout out. Appreciate you. All right, Top Peak, as promised, I'm hitting you. My first question is, do you think Eastern Iowa is big enough population with the cities around it, like Quad Cities, Iowa? It's really hard for me to say, like individual places like that. Because I just don't know them. And this is why I preach about MB in my backyard. That's where you should be investing, because you just know it. You drive through a neighborhood, you can smell it. You know what's good and what's bad. Over time, you start to grow that intuition. So it's really hard for me to say. It's really hard for me to even run comps for you guys and I don't like doing it because it takes some work, but it just, you got to know the area. But what it takes to know if it's a good area or not is it's got to have some comps. It's got to have like 3 to 5 good comps. So what's a comp? A comp is proximity. Okay. It's got to be in the same area, which is usually defined by, major roads, government placed boundaries like census tracts. And, if you just drive through there and walk through there, you get a sense for like, oh, all these houses look similar and these ones across the street don't. it's probably a different area. You can see also in the sales prices of those houses. Some are a lot more and they don't make sense. They don't make sense because they're in a different neighborhood. Okay, this is why I am all about the neighborhood. That's the proximity. Okay, and then you have the date sold. Okay, you want to look at things within 6 months, but you can push it out to 12 or even 18 months at times. And then you look at features, okay, which features are generally in line with proximity, because if they're in the same neighborhood, they're usually built the same. So you have like all split level houses in one neighborhood. And if you have something that's not split level, it's kind of an outlier. And I don't want to include that as part of my comps. But if I have 3 to 5 comps that fit, these 3 things, then I have a neighborhood that can give me data, because we invest based on data. We're not gamblers. We're not speculators. What we do is we take what we know, and we can take a statistical likely guess at something. Okay, so if I have 3 to 5 comps in that neighborhood that are all $300,000 to $350,000, well, it's statistically likely that if I make my house look just like that one, then I'm going to be right in that range as well. And that's what we want. You've probably heard me say this before. I would love to invest in neighborhoods like Pleasantville, where they all look the same. That's the ideal thing. So anyway, to answer your question, if you have 3 to 5 good comps, you have a neighborhood that's alive. Okay, now what a lot of investors are doing, quote unquote investors, is they're relying on market appreciation, right? There's 2 types of appreciation. There's market appreciation. That looks like this. You buy all the housing market over time is, going up, then it goes down, then it goes up. This is market appreciation. Just over time, real estate always wins. Most investments, that was silly. Most big investments like real estate or the American stock market, they're going up over time. Okay, they're a safe bet over time. However, we are looking in the short term. So you can invest over the long term if you have, let's say, a day job and you just want to wait. But we're talking about becoming real estate investors who make this a career. So you're getting your today money and your tomorrow money. So to do that, you need forced appreciation. That means that you can't buy the house here and wait for it to get up here to make your money, because that would be a really slow start. So what you need to do instead is you need to buy the house way down here, okay? And then what you do is you are going to, you're buying it down here because for one, it's under the market price, but it's also, it needs renovation. Okay, it needs something to make it nicer. So over that time, you've also increased the value by forcing it in there by making the house nicer. So you get paid as a construction company here, and then you get paid as a real estate investor who takes risk. That's your difference between the market and what you've gotten it for. Okay, so you always have to be forcing appreciation. So that means that if you bought this house and the market did not appreciate at all, okay, you're still in the money. You don't rely on market appreciation. That's just some nice icing on the cake. Hopefully that answered your question. Question number 2 from Mr. Top Peak. Hey. Question number 2 is, where do I go to find hard money lenders? For my flips, it's kind of my biggest question in this business. Dude, they're all over the place if you're getting good deals. The problem is most people are buying crappy deals that are on the market, and they're just not good enough to get lending. So you have, basically, this is what a bank does. Richard Butterworth, what's up, man? Ross has changed my attitude to flips. Hopefully in a good way. Who knows? Okay. Okay, let's see here. I'm answering this question from Mr. Top Peak, which is, where does he find hard money lenders? Okay. This is it. A bank gives you money like this. You get a house. Let's not use red. let's use black. You get a house under contract for $150,000, let's say. And you got to put $60,000 worth of renovation into it. And this is going to make the house, let's say, worth $300,000. Bank doesn't give a damn that the house is going to be worth $300,000. All they care about is $150,000 is what you're buying the house at. It doesn't matter that you bought it at a phenomenal deal. They're going to give you about 80% of that amount. And so that's what, $120,000. You're going to have to bring $30K to the game plus the $60,000 that you have to put down for the renovation. Now, you can do a commercial loan that's going to package these two things up, but still you're coming a lot of money out of pocket. Now, here's what a hard money lender does that's much different, is they don't care about this stuff so much. They care about this number. What is the ARV? And they're going to give you maybe 65 all the way to, I've seen 75% of that number. So let's just say that they're going to give you 70%. We'll take right in the middle. They're going to give you $210,000 to do that deal. And, well, just so happens that's going to cover your whole nut there, the purchase price and the construction. Now, here's what happens to a lot of these is they're going to get a house under contract for like $250,000 or whatever, let's say $200,000, and they have to bring $60,000 to the deal. A hard money lender is going to look at it and be like, that deal sucks and it's not very safe. So you're going to have to bring a lot of skin into the game because I only want to have 70% in the deal. That way, if you mess up, I can take the house back and I'm still in the money. You know, you're basically like finding deals for them at that point. All right, so where do you find them? Well, you get a better resume. What's your resume? It's the deal. It's all about the deal. And in my experience, it is easy to find money if you have a great deal. So where do you find them? I mean, they're all over the place right now. In fact, it's kind of scary how prevalent these hard money lenders are and people willing to even give you DSCR, 30-year fixed loans. They have them all in funds or something like that. But I mean, you can go online, like type in hard money in your URL or, you know, whatever, Google right now. And there's things like Certain Lending, Kiavi. These are like more corporatized ones. Now, if you want to find more of what I call a private hard money lender, you go to your like local RIA meetups. Like the thing that you got to understand is when I started in real estate, I always thought that, you know, basically I had to be on my knees to these guys. Like, oh, you know, please give me money. Please give me money. It's, you know, it's, but the reality is they make money because they give money. They are always looking for people to give money to. And you become more attractive when you have good deals. I know that's an ambiguous answer. You got to beat the streets a little bit, for sure. But you got to beat the streets with something in hand. And I know it's a weird thing because most people want to find a lender before they find a deal. But, I find a deal and then I go find the money. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Richard says, I'll second that. I've spent $20K on a single program. It was fine, but we're also at another level for flippers. Oh, thanks, man. That's nice. Appreciate that, guys. Refwo says, I have no clue I'm saying your name right, man. Sorry if I'm not. Your explanation of bleeding from water and how it affects the foundation was one of the most insightful videos ever. Nice, man. That's hilarious. I was making that video today and I got cut off. I had to come home to do some stuff. Sometimes the hard money brokers are even in the live chat. Yeah. That's steel banging. What's up, dude? Have you ever done deals? Nope. In the LA area, he says. Nope. Sure haven't, man. I'm terrified of California. It just turns out everything I ever read, like the code book or whatever it is, everything is like, oh, you know, this is fine. Unless you're in California, then you get freaking cancer from it. And so I guess I've just always been scared. And plus, you know, the prices are super high there, man. It just, like, I love tertiary markets that have median house prices that are lower than the national average, that are like, you know, up and coming areas. You just find a lot of great stuff there. And, you know, personally, I moved to an area like that. That's how serious I take house flipping. All right, let's see here. When dealing with negative drainage, here we go. It's funny, I was going to do a video on this right now. So, When dealing with negative drainage, how do you decide whether you are going the French drain route or adding soil and dirt, or do you do both? How much does the average cost for drainage? How much does the average cost for drainage? Okay, so the French drain route or adding soil. Well, adding soil is the way to truly fix the problem. All right, then you've like fixed it from the base, like a true fix forever. But most of the time, it's not that easy, because here's what will happen. Here's house. Hey, house. Let's see, how do I depict this for you? Let's say this is the siding. Okay, so this here is foundation right here, right? Foundation. And the ideal scenario is that you have a house that drains, a hill-ish, a slope that slopes away from the house. Okay, but in a situation where you're taking on bleeding, it's not. It's usually somehow coming back at the house. All right, so the easy thing, of course, would be to build up more dirt so that way it goes away from the house. However, you see the problem here is that now I am into the siding, and you can't be into the siding with the earth, because the earth is going to get wet and now it's going to get into your wood. So that's a no-no. We're not going to be able to do that. Okay, and this is actually, you'll see a lot of times where this is a main indicator. So if you've ever seen me look at like Zillow pictures and I'm like, oh, that house is effed up, got water issues, it's because I'm looking at the distance between the bottom of the siding and, you know, where the ground is. Because any new building is going, even like back in the day, they would do this right, where you would leave about 6 inches. That's actually the code, is 6 inches from where the dirt starts or is and the bottom of the siding where the wood framing of the house. So you should see about 6 inches of the foundation. If you don't, generally that doesn't mean that they built it wrong in the first place. What it means is that water has been going across this ground over a long period of time, and water doesn't just come at the house itself, it brings some dirt with it. And over time, that dirt builds up to the side of the house to where now you have your siding on the dirt. Okay, so that's how you know you have a problem. But once again, I don't have the room to bring in more dirt without doing some crazy excavation and taking out more stuff. So even if I do some crazy excavation, hopefully I'm still gotcha. Okay, I excavate the crap out of that there. Okay, I don't have room to bring in dirt. So what I do instead is I build myself a little retaining wall. Okay, now that I have the retaining wall, now ideally the water hits that retaining wall. Okay, but it needs somewhere to go. So now you put a little bit of a French drain right behind it. Water hits the back of that retaining wall, goes in the French drain, and you route it somewhere safely. Okay, that's the ideal thing. Sometimes people will do this without a retaining wall, and you know, that's okay too. It's not going to last as long as the one with retaining wall. It's not a permanent fix. It's a multi-year fix. But, you know, those those French drains, I mean, they get dirt in them and they end up becoming part of the ground soon anyway. So the retaining wall gives you an extra thing. But as you've seen, many retaining walls that are absolutely failing, and that's because they also don't last. So the only thing that actually would last is getting the dirt right in the first place. But it's exceedingly difficult on some properties. So it's always like you're balancing trade-offs. You're just making trade-offs. Those are the trade-offs. We should schedule a meetup. This is Doug. Doug says we should schedule a meetup in Chattanooga inside the school app. Yeah, man. We're gonna do something. We're gonna do something with that whole community. You know, it's getting really lively now. Very exciting stuff. And I'm not sure what yet. I had a lot of ideas. As you guys probably know, I've been working really hard on getting the home base thing off the ground because I really believe in mail, of course. Not for everybody. I'm not saying y'all need to go out and buy it right now. But that is what I believe in. Been working on it. It's a lot harder than I expected it to be. But anyway, my next project is working on just that, Doug. Oh, Doug OPM, dude. Is that OPM other people's money? Are you a lender, Doug? I got your answer. Top peak. There's your answer. Your guy right there. He's going to DM you. Anybody? No? What else you guys got? Anybody? Just hanging out, waiting for Codex to give me a response to my project here. One of my least favorite things to do is edit videos. That's why I do these live streams, because there's no editing necessary afterwards. And dealing with VAs who edit videos is maybe more difficult than dealing with the contractors that I deal with on these job sites. In fact, I basically figured out that it's all the same game. All the businesses are the same damn thing. And so anyway, the potential of AI editing some of my videos is awesome. However, I've tried that and it's been embarrassingly bad at times. So sorry if you see some weird jump cuts at times. But anyway, hell yeah for live streams. Here we go. Thoughts on gutters? Oh, here you go. Doug. OPM. Got it. Nice, dude. That's great. Sorry if I've talked any shit that you didn't agree with. Sometimes I do that. But it's my job on here, I think. So, comes from a good place. Let's see. Thoughts on gutters. Lots of homes don't have gutters in Alabama. I'd assume you don't need gutters if you already have positive drainage. No. You want that water to get off your house. So if you're buying rentals, you really... the goal of a rental probably should be to hold that thing till the day you die. And then, you step up basis, give it to your kids and such. And so you want to do what you can to give it the most longevity possible. And so even if you have positive drainage and you have a big rain, let's just use this since we have it pulled up already. Okay, so the water is going to come off of here and it's going to sit here. So on a big rain, this is all going to get saturated, and that's not going to be good over time. Okay, so you really, the situation where you have gutters that then take the water just a little bit further away. You always want that. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. On rentals, definitely gutters. I don't always add them to flips, knowing that it's just going to be a thing that comes up on an inspection resolution, and I'm going to have to deal with the negotiation there. I've talked a lot about the inspection resolutions as well. When you go to sell a house, they're going to get a home inspector. They're going to come in and they're going to say, hey, all these things are messed up. And then you're going to negotiate back and forth. This isn't like a corner cutting thing. The deal is with the inspections is home inspection companies. They make their living by finding crap that's wrong with houses. So even on a brand new build, even by an actual good builder, which are rare to find, they're still going to find a handful of things on that inspection resolution, and there's still going to be a negotiation. So it's like, all right, well, I plan on, this on a flip. I have to replace the gutters, but I'll do it after the inspection resolution because that'll give us another thing to negotiate that's not going to scare them off of buying the house. Because if I replace the gutter first, then they'd find a different thing for me to have to do. Is basically the way I think about that. But on your rental properties, I would definitely recommend doing what you can to preserve that property. It will have enough of its own issues. Doug, what's up, man? I'm pulling it up. Doug says, when you were talking about the cast iron sewer, it made me think of new investors need to be aware of how long utilities are off and the potential to need to bring those things up to code before reconnect. For sure. So here's the deal. Like the deal with the cast iron, as the example, is that it works. All right. If you don't have crap in your crawl space, it is working. It is draining the poo. Okay. But if you go and do a project and you are in the situation where you're pulling permits, what they're going to do is they're going to make you do a water test. And a water test means that you basically plug up, the toilets and such, anywhere where the water can get out, and you fill up that line all the way to the top point, the highest vent in the house. Your sewer line has never taken that type of pressure. Not like, physical pressure, just it's never been tested that way. And there will be leaks. And it's cast iron that's, in some cases like 100 years old. And it's going to break. It's going to have a leak, and you're going to go to fix that leak, and it's going to uncover another leak and another leak. And before you know it, you've replaced the whole thing. So yes, you don't necessarily need to replace them if it's working. But if you're getting permits pulled and you're having to do a water test, you're pretty much going to have to bank on replacing a whole lot of that. There will be problems, no doubt. And so, I guess that we're on the topic of hard money. You should always be putting in a fat contingency. Even after 17 years of doing this, I never get it perfect. There's always something that comes up. That's the deal with renovations. You're trying to save, preserve as much as you can. And you save a lot of money over a new build on materials and such, but there's always going to be things that come up. You're just never going to get it right. Maybe on a cosmetic or something like that with a really low budget. But if you start getting into anything, you're just going to find things, or a contractor is going to go AWOL on you or whatever, and you're going to have to pick up a new contractor. And it's not like they just say, oh, well, this is a $20,000 job and you paid that contractor $15,000, so I guess I'll do it for $5,000. No, it's not like that at all. You'll end up double paying for that shit, no doubt. Here we go. J-Wag, what's up, dude? Or girl, actually, I can't see with the picture. Just, let's see here. He says, what's your opinion? I think this may be a joke. I don't know what the hell this is. I'm getting old, man. So, does anybody know what a mooning is? That like butt mooning? Not for the flippers. I'm not sure that's going to help anything. Maybe if this is a terminology that I don't know, you guys can fill me in. Do you use systems for the flips, as in using the same finishes for every house? I don't use the same finishes for every house. I use similar finishes. It kind of depends what I can reuse inside of that house that's already there. I want to save as much money as I can. I do not have constant systems. No, because it just talking about, the materials that I use on every project. And, it just varies. It's like, if I have stuff that's already in there that can be reused, then I'm going to build around that. That's the style that's going to be used in that spot. Now, I basically use the same paint colors and such, some sort of off-white. I basically use the same floors, some sort of LVP, but it varies. There might be a better deal at the wholesale supplier we use, and, whatever. It's 6 one way, half a dozen the other. Let's see. When your contractor gives you a labor, he says, when your contractor gives you a labor-only quote, how are you estimating material and total cost of the whole project? Are you having them give you a material quote as well? So mostly I get labor only. Okay, because they can easily figure that out for themselves. And when you start to make them do material as well, then you make them do work that's, administrative related, and that always scares people off. Okay, so I try to create as little of friction as possible. Now, as I work with people more, I try to get them to do more of those admin things, but definitely to start, I try to keep it as easy for them to work with me as possible. Okay, and then so yes, I would figure out my own material at that point. I mean, you basically know what you're going to need in a renovation, unless you're like full gutting. But yes, I just figure those things out, and very roughly, dude. Like I know it's crazy to people that I don't have like this scientific formula to figure out the prices of everything, but I just think it's such a waste of time, honestly, because it's all about the project management. It's all about like getting a budget that is in the ballpark and then managing my ass off to get it there. And it's like, weird thing. If I set my budget for $40,000, I'm going to figure out a way to make it $40,000. If I set that same budget for 35, I would have figured out a way to get it to 35. Same thing if I go up higher. So, I set a budget and I manage to it. That's basically where this is where I've gotten to, because the taking hours to set up a scope of work that you just find surprises on day one it's not in my benefit, I would say. That's where I use the flipperism. You guys have seen the flipperism. I know that you've seen the flipperism. Let's see. Do I have it up here? I do. I'll have it somewhere. Tools. Is this? No, that's not it. That's my ChatGPT. My codex. Here it is. Flipperism. It's that simple. Guys, I don't get wild with it. I use little sliders, and I make a little budget, and then I manage the best I can to that budget. Now, of course, I do have some things that are a little bit more intensive, okay, from back in my construction company days, but truly it was more ballpark than you might think it was. Okay, where are we at? Okay, inspection, I like that. He says, Doug OPM says contingency on budget. I encourage it as its own line item for some. Yes. Oh yeah, for sure. What I like to do is take it a little step further, and I go. I add some contingency and I add some juice, because this is how I usually make offers to people. So if I'm on a direct to seller appointment, I walk through the budget with them. Like, this is the work that I'm going to have to do on the house. Then I go and, this plugs directly into here. This is all free, guys, by the way. I build them for myself, but you can use them. They're right there on the website. But anyway, I, have a conversation with them. Hey, I think your house is worth $300,000 once it's made nice. Do you agree with that? And we'll look up comps and all that kind of stuff. And then, I've already gone through the scope of work with them as we're walking the property together. And I say, so we agree upon the rehab costs, right? All right, well, here's my offer right there. $179,450. Works every time it works. But seriously, a lot of guys are just throwing out weird numbers. Like, I'll give you $174,000 for it. And it's like, where the hell did that number come from? It came from thin air. You just grabbed it. So that means if you just grab that number from thin air, that means I can push another number back from thin air, right? But when you come at a number, if you come at them with a number like $179,451.79, they're like, God damn, this dude's scientific backed, even though you guys know that it's kind of like ballparkish. Okay, but it is, the main thing with a scope of work is that you get everything in there. Okay, that's the biggest thing. The biggest miss is when you just forget one of the things, and maybe it's a big item. All right, so I'm getting serious now. I know I'm playing around about the ballparks and stuff, but here it is. Everything is in here that is common to come up, right? And that's the biggest thing is like a lot of times you're writing stuff down like I got to do this, and then you get back afterwards and you're like, damn it, I forgot the gutters. I didn't think about gutters. I didn't think about exterior paint. Damn it. And those are big chunks, so just not missing any of the chunks makes a huge difference. All right, what else you guys got? I actually have work to do tonight still, so I usually on my work nights get up till like 1, but my youngest kid likes to wake up around 5, so live stream tomorrow will be a little rough if I make it. Anybody have any questions out there? No? Yeah, maybe. I think there's a delay we found here. Pretty sweet, though. 29 comments. People are getting wild tonight. Yeah, I'm working on trying to make a full scope of work course to show you guys how I walk these properties, deal analysis. It'll have some, structural, the bleeding stuff, trying to get into that, getting into actually the full systems. I have a multi-phase system where it is actually a little more fine-tuned. This is what you would hand off to contractors. And the truth is, okay, a lot of this stuff is, for me at this point, it becomes pretty natural because of years of habitual, real use of it. So I kind of have to go back to the basics and say, okay, when I was building my knowledge bank up, this is what I did. And so, it does get more loose as time goes on and you gain more skills, which is what we're ultimately trying to do here. All right, anybody? You got anything else? Everybody going to sleep already? All right, guys. Appreciate you. I'm taking off.